Rubin's house trying to figure out what we're going to do. And we listened a lot to the Bad Motorfinger record and the Loud Love record, and we were just like, the thing about Chris had a tremendous voice, but there was something like scary about both his kind of vocal presence and his lyrics, and it was kind of unsettling. We're like, that guy sounds awesome, and maybe we could make a great band together. So Rick and I, at the time, Chris was living in Ojai, which is about an hour and a half outside of LA. So Rick and I, in my 1985 Chevrolet Astrovan, drove up to Ojai. Now, Rick Rubin is a great dude, but Rick's fancy. And like when Rick drives anywhere, it's like in a Rolls Royce that's inside another Rolls Royce. So he must have been serious about this trip, because we're in my van driving up to Ojai. So we go up to Ojai, and it's dusk when we arrive. And Chris lives at is the last house on the last loneliest hill. And so we're winding through the trees going up to his house. And we arrive in this kind of Spanish-style mansion. It's the last home at the back, at the top. And we pull into the driveway, and it's a little bit darker now. And there's some motorcycles in the driveway and a long, wending staircase that goes up to the big gilded front doors. And I swear to you, straight out of the Addams Family, those doors open like with nobody opening them. And out walk, Chris was 6'2" and was this kind of lanky, Dracul-like figure, you know, and he starts walking down the steps, and Rick Rubin turns to me and goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here." Quick, turn the van around before he hits the bottom step, or we may never see daylight again. And I'm like, I think it's gonna be okay. But I did for a second put the car in reverse. Fortunately, we were brave enough to withstand the initial terror, and met Chris and formed a band with him, Audioslave, and had a great run, made 3 records that I'm very, very proud of. The thing about Chris was, while he always wrestled with demons, we were very blessed, all of us, that he was able to harness those demons and ride them like a mother-flippin' chariot of lightning to make some of the greatest rock and roll of all time. So I feel very fortunate for that.
What I gathered hearing stories about Chris is that he was very kind. Fantastic Negrito, who's from the Bay Area, he took that guy under his wing, literally, and brought him along.
Chris was he was a great dude, and it's such a tragic loss, and it was someone who doesn't sort of suffer from some of the same demons. I could never really see the world in the same way that he did. But like I said, he lived, he was under assault from internal stuff from a very, very early age, and yet he was able to, raise a beautiful family and make a lot of really tremendous music with Rage Against the Machine. I'm sorry, with Soundgarden, with Audioslave, with his solo music. So we still have that, and as much, I miss him every single day, and it's super horrible that he's gone. But we do have his voice. Where he lives now is through those awesome songs forever. So.
Yeah. I mean, you guys really did make really great fucking songs with Audioslave, but it was different for you playing the guitar with Audioslave than it was with Rage. What was,
Very much so. Like with Rage Against the Machine, it was basically the James Brown principle, where everything came back to the one. In 4 Rage Against the Machine records, I don't think that there's one chord change. Like, it's the relentlessness of the grooves and the riffs returning to the, like the same note. When we started working with Chris, who has such a beautiful voice and is such an incredible creator of melody, it pushed Tim and Brad and I musically to make music that had more like chords and harmonic diversity. And so then when we had songs that had these different building blocks of structure, then that allowed me as a guitar player to play in some different and more melodic ways. And I will demonstrate some of that for you now. This jam here. It's a great record. Chris Cornell was a damn good-looking man. I mean, that's it. Sometimes I'd be in rehearsal and go like, dude, you are blessed. Like, the hair and the eyes, and the voice. Anyway, so this was the very first time we we wrote this song. The day we wrote this song, I improvised this guitar solo in the rehearsal, and fortunately we recorded it that day, and it's the solo that's I then played on the record and played every time since. So I'll play it for you now. Hit it! And also with audio slave, I just kept experimenting and practicing lots of hours a day to come up with some cool shit.